everyone, Jennifer here, back with another edition of Movie Talk. Now, this week's movie is not a personal favorite, but it's one I wanted to talk about. And that movie is Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The beloved fairy tale comes to life in Disney's most ambitious movie ever as a young princess hides from her wicked stepmother in a cottage belonging to seven dwarfs and dreams that one day her prince will come. Okay, highlights of the movie. This movie was made back in 1937, so it's almost 100 years old. Actually, it's almost 90 years old. It's coming up on... It's 4 years away from its 90th birthday. And it's still a very popular movie. A lot of little girls love this movie. You see it in one form or another being shown in things as movies or as the subplots for movies. In ABC's show Once Upon a Time, one of the main characters was Snow White. And Snow White and her prince tend to be the forefront of many modern fairy tale stories. The Land of Stories, the first story revolved around Snow White's story. Ever After High, the two main characters are Apple White and Raven Queen, who Apple White is, obviously, she's the daughter of Snow White, and Raven Queen is the daughter of the Evil Queen, who are the antagonist and the heroine and the villain in this movie. So there's a lot of stuff connecting to it that just really keeps it in the forefront. Plus, it's a beloved fairy tale from, God, years before Disney even made it into a movie. It is an animated musical fantasy film that was based on the 1812 German fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm. And it boasts 3 firsts. This movie was the very first Disney animated feature film. Snow White herself was the very first Disney princess. And the movie was literally the very first animated feature film ever. So this movie set up a lot of stuff. It set up the Disney feature film, or Disney animated feature film, which are still going on now. It set up the Disney princesses, and Snow White was later joined by Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, Ariel, Pocahontas, Mulan. Oh, scores of other girls. I believe there's 14 in all. I could be wrong. If I am, I apologize. It basically goes from Snow White all the way up to, I believe, Raya is the most recent one. If I am wrong about that, I apologize. And it also sets up a lot of criteria. There's a lot of criteria for the Disney princesses as well, but we're not going to get into that in this video. And it also was, like I said, the very first ever feature animated movie. Up until this point, there were animated shows at the theaters, but please keep in mind that this was before television. Yeah, there was a time when television did not exist. People would go to the movie theater once a week for entertainment, and when they were at home, they would listen to the radio. And there were cartoons at the theaters, but they weren't the feature part. They were more filler between the newsreels and the actual feature film. And the serials, like, you know, Buck Rogers, The Lone Ranger, Zorro, or not Zorro, Rin Tin Tin, stuff like that, like little serials that would continue each week on the screen. And this movie was the very first feature animated movie. So, it does boast a lot of firsts, which, is commendable for the movie. And it's been around for a long time. Don't think it's the oldest movie I've ever done a review on, but it's pretty darn close. I don't know if The Wizard of Oz is older than this or not. I'd have to actually look back and see. But they are probably really close to each other, because I know The Wizard of Oz, it starts and ends in black and white. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure where that fits in. But they're probably really close to each other in age. I think this is older. I think this might be older. Because I don't think Technicolor, which was primarily The Wizard of Oz, came out till later. So I do believe Snow White is older. Okay, things I liked about this movie. As I stated, Snow White is not one of my favorite movies. I like it because I like Disney, but it's not up there with my top favorites. I really just wanted to do a review on it because of the three firsts. I thought that was very important to highlight, because it does have the three firsts. The first Disney animated feature film, the first Disney princess, and the first ever animated feature film. But there were some things I liked about it. I loved the music. Hi-Ho is really cute. I love Hi-Ho. And Whistle While You Work. I remember my dad singing Hi-Ho when I was a kid. And I think he did Whistle While You Work too, every once in a while. Someday My Prince Will Come. I love that song. It's really pretty. I liked the storyline to a degree. It's your classic fairy tale princess storyline. Princess is under some kind of spell that makes her fall asleep, and true love's kiss wakes her up from it, and she falls in love with the prince, love at first sight, and they get married and live happily ever after. Typical fairy tale princess story. You see the same thing with Sleeping Beauty. Cinderella, not so much, because she doesn't fall asleep, but it is love at first sight, and marries the handsome prince and lives happily ever after. So, the storyline's good. I mean, I like the more modern storylines with the Disney princesses to a degree, but that's probably more because it's from more my generation than this is. But that's okay. I mean, for the time period it took place in, the movie was made in, not take place in, but the movie was made in, it is a very good storyline, and I do like it. And I did like the animation. I mean, granted, if you look at the animation in this movie, and you look at an animation for another movie, like, say, Bambi, you would say, like, the animation's completely different. But also keep in mind, this was not only Walt Disney's first animated feature film, this was literally the first animated feature film. So there wasn't... They were trying to move beyond what was more the short 5-minute movie or cartoon that was in theaters to the more feature-length 2-hour movie thing, but the animation wasn't quite there yet. And Disney was, I don't want to say in its infancy, but it probably really got started after World War I, which would have been 20 years prior to this movie. I don't know exactly when Walt Disney got started. But the Walt Disney Studio really didn't get started until after World War I, or at the time what it was referred to as the Great War. So this was kind of... Yeah, I mean, the animation for the time period was really good, and I'm not going to compare it to something like, say, The Lion King, which was made in the 1990s. Of course, the animation is going to be completely different from something made in the 1990s to something made in the 1930s. And again, it was the first animated movie, so I'm like, yeah, I can look past the animation being not quite what I'm used to, because again, the storyline is good. And for me, that's all that's important, is that the storyline is good. You also have to take into consideration that this movie came out in the 1930s. I mean, what was going on in America in the 1930s? The Great Depression. People went to the movie theater at that time period to basically forget their troubles. And this was a sweet, wonderful movie based on a very beloved at the time fairy tale. So it did take people's minds off of what was going on for, the 2 hours and some odd minutes that it was running. Or how long is it? I'm saying 2 hours because that's roughly the runtime for a movie, but I could be wrong on the runtime. 84 minutes, so okay, a little over an hour. Not 2 hours, but about just under an hour and a half. So, I can look past, like I said, I can look past the animation because the storyline is very good, the storytelling is very good, and considering the time period it took place in, it was a nice little escape for people going to the movies, to forget about the Great Depression that was going on at that time period. Okay, cast. This movie had a great cast of actors. It had a fairly big cast of characters, because you had Snow White, you had 7 little dwarfs, that's 8 right there. You had the evil queen, you had the prince, although you don't see the prince very often. You see him in the beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie, and that's about it. He doesn't even really, he has a name, but it's not even mentioned in the movie. You have the huntsman, who again is not in it very much, but he's there. And you have the magic mirror. So, that's 11 characters right there. Of course, one of them doesn't really talk. And 2 of them you don't see very often. You see, like, the huntsman very fleetingly at the beginning of the movie. I mean, a little bit. Not fleetingly, but you don't see him much past the beginning of the movie. And then you don't see Prince Charming or Prince Florine, as he was actually referred to, as his actual name is, except at the beginning of the movie and at the end of the movie. Most of the main characters are Snow White, the 7 dwarfs, the evil queen, and the magic mirror. So those are the ones I focused on. Okay, feel free to check out my other videos. Okay, before I sign off, a few things I'd like to touch on. First off, a quick reminder on my comment rules. Okay, please leave your comments and questions in the comment section. I do love to read those. Also, feel free to follow me on Wattpad, Tumblr, Instagram, and Twitter. I do have my name for those 4 sites right there on the screen, as well as the pictures I use for the icons. Please note that all pictures seen within this video do belong to their respective artists. I own absolutely nothing, and the links for any sites mentioned will be in the description section. Hey, YouTube subscribers! Any of my videos that are not on YouTube are on my Facebook page. Facebook friends, basically the same deal. Any of my videos that are not on Facebook are on my YouTube channel. And to anyone who's interested, you can feel free to check out my Facebook group, Fanfic Corner. Please like and share if you're watching on Facebook, or like and subscribe if you haven't already, if you're watching on YouTube. And as always, thank you for watching, and have a very nice day.